Hey, welcome back to the Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to take a minute to thank the sponsors of the podcast. This episode is sponsored by Tona Law. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. Tona Law is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. Do you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals? Check out tonalaw.com. Mention again the Lead Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you. Today, the show is about the impact of coaching on both your professional and personal growth. Coaching is a topic that I frequently discuss with my coaches and with my inner circle of friends and advisors. And the funny part of that is that most of the people that are on my short list, right, the favorites in my cell phone I always talk about, almost every one of them cites coaching as one of the biggest, if not the biggest needle mover in their professional career. Specifically, my business was growing very rapidly 15 years ago, let's say. And it was a rapid growth in revenue, rapid growth in infrastructure by way of new hires. And it felt very chaotic to me. I was looking for answers and I didn't have any partners. I didn't have any business partners. And often you would see people talking about, I need to talk to my partners. They go into a room, they do these powwows, right? I didn't know where to turn. I was unfamiliar with the coaching concept at that point about 15 years ago. I had lunch with a very good friend of mine in Long Island, matrimonial attorney, James Joseph, and he's a good friend. And James brought up a coaching entity that he had been a part of right since after law school when he was looking for answers, right? So to define coaching, I mean, coaching can look like anything from classically trained business or law firm coaches. There's a lot of excellent ones. There's also some not so excellent ones. Coaching is anybody that you hire on a regular basis or a retainer basis, annually, quarterly, whatever it is, to train you and help steer you the same way a classically trained sports coach would, right? So let's say you're the player as the leader of your company. You bring in a coach and their job is to help you work through your blind spots, identify your blind spots, right? You can't be good at everything. So you bring on coaches that will challenge you to grow past your self-inflicted boundary points. I think it's important on both the professional and personal side. I often recommend it in tandem if people have not worked on their own personal growth as well. And, you know, we did a fantastic podcast with Craig Goldenfarb and you heard what he said. I mean, one of his biggest needle movers was moving past the personal obstacles he had to become the best leader he could to then build an 8-figure law firm. When I joined this Atticus coaching group as a student, it was part of their quarterly program. And I was in a group of probably 30 like-minded individuals, all roughly around the same revenue levels. And it was an amazing experience. We were in the Dallas group. It was a really unique group. And I had fantastic people surrounding me that forced me to level up, right? And I was in other classes they had before that, but I'm just a fast implementer. So I moved through their basic program in 1 year. And then I went into the higher level program for 10 years after that. I think that surrounding yourself with people that are where you want to go is more important than being the biggest fish in the room. I never want to be the biggest fish in the room. So I thought that was hugely impactful. You pick where you want to go and surround yourself with people that are already there, right? If you do that coaching, guaranteed you're going to end up being able to go into that boss 12 months later for a significant increase in value, for a significant bump up or raise, because your value will have increased exponentially. I invest in my team. And when people come to me and they want to grow, I'm the first person that would be like, you know what? Let's get you coaching, right? Once they figure out what they want to do, what they want to be, what their goals are. I normally am not going to invest in somebody who is not clear on their goals, right? Because you got to have that clarity. You can't be one thing one week and then I spend $10,000 and then the next week you want to be something else. But when people are very clear, I'm all about that. And we figure out what works. We figure out what works for the company and that stuff. But let's say you go to a company that they don't want to do it. Invest in yourself. You're the best investment you're going to make. Nobody pays my coaching bills. I pay my coaching bills because I hate the thought of wasted talent. And I know so many talented people that are on the list that are like, I would get coaching, but it's too costly. I would ask those same people, where are you spending your time and your money?
Yeah.
Where are you spending your time and your money? Because if you show me that over the last 90 days, is it consistent with what you're telling me your goals are? Do you even know what your goals are? Right? So coaching gives you a lot of that. Business coaching specifically, there's always going to be overlap because a good business coach will delve into the things that are holding you back, that are blocks that you're probably unaware of. Like, I know that I have blocks. Everybody has blocks. But it's a good business coach or any coach that will hold you accountable, call you out on it, show you your blind spots. And there's only one way to get there, and that's to go through, go through the blocks, to go through the obstacles that are there. The only regret I have with the coaching that I consume and pay for is that I didn't start it super early. I opened my practice in 2001. I wish I had signed up right then, right? I'd be exponentially further than where I am now. So I think it's instrumental. So either way, you'll learn your lessons that you need to learn. It's just way easier with a coach. You're going to shortcut a lot of painful and probably more expensive lessons than you would have if you just pulled the trigger on coaching. It's good to just get started somewhere, to have even just a peer group of people that are both doing what you're doing currently. And also there's going to be people in that room that are where you want to be, right? So we're talking about masterminds, coaching, peer groups, and that type of stuff. So to me, it's tremendous. It forces you to look in a mirror, right? That's what you're talking about, right? If you're coachable and you have a growth mindset, you can basically achieve anything you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And to hear some of my good friends now are those 8-figure lawyers, right? And I talk to them on the regular. And when I hear them talk, or a 9-figure lawyer, right? I reference all the time. When I hear them talk, they're humble. You have to humble yourself to say, I'm not special. I got to where I am by hard work, determination, a little bit of luck, being in the right place at the right time, knowing the right people, meeting the right people. None of those 8-figure and 9-figure players are ever going to sit there and say, I don't need a coach. I'm brilliant. Because all those guys are paying people to coach them. Anything good gets to the root of the real stuff. Meaning ego gets stripped away or broken, right? You're running a law firm, you're running any business, everybody works for you. Like, oh, you're so great. You're so great. And when things are going good, things are great. When things hit the fan, are you going to point the finger at somebody else or you point the finger at yourself? Coaching makes you look at yourself. What are your blind spots? What are your weak spots? What can you do better? So I think if you do anything for yourself ever, and you're listening to this podcast and you want to know what to do, get a coach. Attend some masterminds. If you think it's too expensive to get a coach, attend a mastermind. The ROI on coaching and masterminds for anybody that does them is going to be exponential. You have to get over that mindset of coaching is too expensive. It's like saying education is too expensive. If you think education is too expensive, try ignorance. Ignorance is expensive. What you don't know will cost you a fortune. Coaching helps you with all of that. Masterminds help you with all of that. The 10% of people that were like, no, it's a waste of resources. Well, maybe for you, but you don't have to want to grow. You definitely don't have to want to compete with people like me or people that are on this show. But if you do, then you're going to have to bring your A game. You're going to have to do the things that all of these other competitors are doing. What's awesome about coaching too, and here's the big impact. I don't know if I talk about this anywhere else, but I'll just go into it really quickly.
Do it.
The My Great Life exercise that my business coaches have always wanted us to do. It's a list of 1 to 10 for 90 days, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year lifetime goals. I've redone that list probably 3 or 4 times because I've hit 80% of my bucket list stuff on there. And my bucket list is aggressive.
Yeah.
When somebody says, you ever hear the term BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal?
Yes.
Okay. So a BHAG is you throw something out that it's so huge, it's audacious, right? That's why they call it a BHAG. And I've hit that several times, like where I go, I got to just go bigger. If you don't have written goals, get yourself a coach. You need to know where you're going. You need to figure out with a pen and a piece of paper, where do you want to end up in 5, 10, 20 years? Ryan McKean. One question that I ask everybody is, if you think back over your career, what was probably one of the biggest, I call them needle movers. What was one of the biggest needle movers where you noticed an inflection point for yourself in your career or your professional life or your business life, whatever you want to call it?
I really think that I had some early success. Not early, but I mean, I settled a motorcycle death case for like 2.25 million. And I think the inflection points were before that, committing to me to investing my own money when I remember going to a Don Keenan, David Ball thing in Washington, D.C., where I told my wife, like, hey, I want you, I'm putting this out there because it's probably going to cost me like $4,000 to go to this thing. And I want you to know that we may not be able to take home money this month. This is the thing. And she's like, no, I believe in you. Get on that plane. And I believe that you're going to add to that case. And I did. I was probably able to add up $1.5 million in value onto that case from what I learned there. So it was really being able to make the investment into myself. And again, really after that, like in 2016, 2017, where I really started investing in learning about business and learning about the business of law from Lee Rosen and the Rosen Institute, John Fisher and John Fisher's Mastermind. And even at that time, I mean, getting on a plane and going to Chicago, I remember Andrew and I had talked about it. And it was like, okay, we got some settlement in, and it was like a last minute decision because the case had settled. And then I had the money to get on the plane. And then I met like-minded people, Bill Umansky and just others out there in the world. And they showed me different things. And then it was up to me to go home and to execute those things. So I think like the biggest inflection point was investing in my skills, investing in those things. I think that there's no way that the firm exists or Mikey Cruz happens without significant investments in myself. And Andrew, Andrew, same thing.
I love that. I often say, because I hear a lot from people, I talk about coaching all the time. And I coached with Atticus. They were my coaches I still coach with one of the coaches, but for over a decade, right? And I've invested $300,000, $400,000 in coaching, right, over that time. I tell people when they tell me it's too expensive, I'm like, you're drinking an $8 coffee, and yet the highest ROI you will ever get. I just did a post on this on LinkedIn. The highest ROI you will ever get is investing in yourself. It doesn't matter what position you are in a law firm, in a business. And if your boss won't pay for it, I guarantee you 12 months later, you're going to make that money back if you just invest in yourself. There's no such thing as too expensive, right? So I'm 100% a fan of what you just said. I knew I was kindred with you on a lot of levels. I love that. Anybody listening to this, because there's a common theme you hear among the people I have on this podcast, 7, 8, 9-figure attorneys, right? Investing in yourself is the highest ROI.
Yeah.
Right? How many times have you heard me say that? Quick break to thank the sponsors of the podcast. This episode is supported by Tona Law, a modern law firm built on integrity and innovation. Learn how they're changing the game at tonalaw.com. Attorney referrals accepted from across the country. You'll see what it's like when you send us a case. You'll have some happy clients. I was doing some homework and I thought that this was going to be a good episode to share with the listeners. So I have a mastermind that I'm going to, and it's a closed mastermind. So just to give you the setting, it's a 9-person mastermind. And in the mastermind are some very large firm owners and then some mid-sized firm owners, several personal injury firms. And there are also several larger estate planning firms as well as matrimonial firms. And I want to talk about the magic of the mastermind. The first thing that they talk about is, what are your stuck points? And this is a very almost hot seat type of analysis. In John Fisher's mastermind, the hot seat has helped me solve tremendous issues and accelerate growth. So here it's a different type of analysis where it's, what are your pain points? What are your 2 biggest challenges that you want to discuss with the group? Now, the magic of this group is there's full transparency, right? We all have to disclose all numbers at all times. And then the other magic of this group is that there's a 100% commitment. So no matter what you got going on, when we set those dates for these meetings, there is very few reasons that they'll allow you to miss. You miss one meeting, that's understandable. But you miss more than that, then, they'll be bringing that up to you. And that creates accountability. And I love that. One of the cool things that they ask you to do is talk about your personal life. They started off with, what are your personal goals, ambitions? What's your family situation? And they do that to really get you thinking about, what's your why, right? What is the why of what we do every day as business leaders, business owners. And who are you outside of your role in the business and the work that you do? And I love this part of the exercise, right? So I always talk about my family as my why. I always talk about the passions that we share as a family and the good stuff that's coming up. It sets the tone for a great meeting and it centers me as an owner and leader. And I love that. The next thing we talk about, what are your big personal goals for your life, right? Atticus used to call it my great life. This gives me a real zoom out with a year-to-date comparison. I was in a significant world of pain. Profit numbers were in the single digits. I was in extreme growth mode and I was in hyper investment mode. That's super stressful. I went to the group at the time and I said, hey, look, this is where I'm at. And they confirmed that we were on the right track. But I will tell you that this year, I'm in a great place despite massive changes. Everything's back on track in my mind, in my heart. Everything's aligned. I have crystal clear vision of the future of the business, how it's impacting everything else around me. And everything that I have assessed and planned is now unfolding, and we are executing and in motion on so many different big needle mover initiatives. Then we give a little history about the firm itself. One of the things that we've really done is narrowed our focus. It's always been two primary verticals: New York plaintiffs' personal injury and New York no-fault collections. But we experimented with several other verticals that we have since eliminated. So that's a big, massive change. And I love this exercise too, because it makes you look in the rearview mirror to say, how far have I come? Too often as business leaders, and for myself specifically, all I do is concern myself about where I want to go and where I want to take the business. And this is kind of a look back, right? And that's a healthy thing to do. So then we go through our accountability chart. And what this does is it forces us to look at the changes that have occurred or the changes that might need to occur. And, in EOS parlance, it's a right person, right seat analysis. And I love this. But the biggest eye openers were getting into the numbers. One of the magical things that you do in this mastermind is you are completely transparent. So you're sharing your P&L, which might make a lot of people uncomfortable, but what I have found is you can't really grow without that transparency. And for me, the transparency in the numbers, not only is it very humbling, but it cuts through a lot of the crap that when you only talk in terms of top line, you tend to be very egocentric, right? So when you're talking in front of a group of your peers and they're running at a 20% profit margin and they're picking apart your numbers and they don't really care about the gross revenue, the magic that happens is you start to focus on what really matters. So the transformation in the numbers is palpable. And I want to talk about why. What's accounting for the difference? And what I have realized is that there are components to scaling. And this is a key discovery. There are components to scaling that increase exponential growth without the same exponential increase in expenses or in spend. So we really accomplished nuclear change. And there's been a tremendous amount of what I call positive turnover. That's a term that I borrowed from Craig Goldenfarb, and it's actually a Disney term. Positive turnover refers to, if you think about the right person, right seat analysis, every time you have turnover, it's an opportunity to grow, to level up, to look at the next level of the person that should be in a certain seat. So we've had that with many seats. And I attribute that a lot to EOS and to the masterminds that I do, because at the end of the day, the clearer I get on the vision, the mission, the people, the technology, the finances, well, that's where the growth is born. So when you have growth, you have things that break. Okay. Right. So I highly encourage 2 or 3 masterminds where you're just locked in. And if you're not feeling the things that we're talking about, maybe you've leveled up the mastermind that you need to do. Several of the people that are in this mastermind with me, they gave me great advice. And the other thing is that once they give you the advice and they tell you what needs to be done, they're going to kick your ass until you do it. Right. One of the other things that it's done is it's forced transformational growth on me personally, right? You have to be willing to ask hard questions and be ready for the fact that the answers you get are not going to make you feel good, right? So if you're the type of person who's got a fragile ego, this space ain't for you at this point. You got to be willing to hear the hard truths, make changes, and not be judgmental. Thank you for listening to this episode of Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Go anywhere podcasts are distributed. Follow us. Leave us a 10-star review. Share some episodes with your friends. And thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you. This episode is sponsored by Tona Law. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. Tona Law is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. If you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals, check out tonalaw.com. Mention again the Lead Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you.